Good afternoon. My name is Ben Weisenberger. I'm an application engineer with Allied PLM Solutions. I want to welcome you to the Allied PLM LunchByte series. Today we'll be taking a look at what's new in Solid Edge ST7 Part 2. If you missed Part 1, you can watch replay on our website or visit youtube.com/AlliedPLM. For today's agenda, we'll be talking about enhancements in the assembly environment, which include duplicate component, limited update, limited save, as well as some framing and express route enhancements. We'll also cover drafting enhancements, such as the new automatic coordinate dimensioning command, reference text enhancements, as well as some enhancements to tables. So new with ST7 is some performance options for customers who work with extremely large assemblies. In ST6, a limited update, limited save was delivered via an add-on, and this is now being delivered in ST7. This enables you to control your update and save operations while working in Solid Edge. The functionality, what it does is it disables or delays the update or recompute of an assembly on file open. Also limits and updates the recompute of changed items while working in the context of an assembly. It also limits save operations only to files that have been user edited during the session. Limited update is an on and off toggle, and if toggled during a design session, it will respond on the next solver update. Limited update, it acts independently, and if on during an assembly file open, what it does is it will check for missing documents and report them. It does not check for changed documents or prompt for or load changed documents, and does not activate or update components with inner part links, and no solver update will occur. With limited save button, this is really useful in a managed environment. If it's on, it will only save files that are marked as dirty or files that you've directly touched or opened with write access. So limited update, limited save, the commands are available in the no document environment, meaning that you can customize it and add them to your ribbon bar. The two options have to be checked in order for you to access them in your Solid Edge options. They're also available in the SE admin. And you can turn them on and off from within SE admin. The update active level is a new command that will only consider documents already loaded into memory from the active level down. If this is on during an in-place activate, it updates the assembly from the active document down. There's also an update all open documents command, which was previously called update all links. All open documents means everything open in your Solid Edge session except draft will be updated. And for ST7 we now have something that looks similar to the drawing view tracker, which is called the component tracker. You can use this to check out date statuses in your active assembly level down. Files that are dirty are indicated in the tree with an asterisk at the end of the name. It does not track or check inner part out date conditions, but it's basically a geometric timestamp tracker that reports on context changes. So let's go ahead and switch over to Solid Edge and get started here. So in ST7, the user interface has been enhanced to provide easier access to tools such as the insert component command, which will display the parts library. Here we can see available components and then drag them directly into our design. You'll notice the color has changed of the preview. Instead it used to be white, now it's a lot easier to see that part, and you can change the option of that color in the Solid Edge options. Capture fit, it allows us to save relationships on a component being placed. So all we have to do is select where we want to place it in the assembly. So we'll line our part up here. We can click on the part, and when we click on one of the relationships, you can notice now only the parts related to each other through the relationship stay visible while the rest of the assembly is dimmed. And there have also been tools added to help view relationships we've created, such as show only or zoom to. So let's go ahead and take a look at a new command here in ST7. A lot of time users will have parts that need to be duplicated across an assembly in different positions and orientations. And we can now do this with a tool called duplicate component. So here we have a mount assembly made up of bolts and washers, and even a subassembly of multiple components. And these components need to be duplicated onto the other mounts quickly. So duplicate component, it speeds up this process by using the assembly from occurrence to define their new location and simply duplicating them no matter what their orientation might be. So the new locations can be manually selected, or we can use the matching occurrences option, which finds the new positions for us. So here we have only duplicated the components in 3 new locations, but imagine the power of using this command to duplicate in many more positions and orientations. Let's go ahead and change our focus to the motor manifold, where we'll have several tubes created. Typically the tubes would be created at the top level of an assembly so that all the components in the assembly could be used for tube path creation. So new in ST7 is what we call peer locate, meaning even while I'm in the sub-level assembly, you can still locate components above or beside the current subassembly. So notice here while in the subassembly, I still have access to components at the top level while creating the path for the tube. So this allows you to consolidate the created tubes into a single subassembly without limiting our design needs. Also new in ST7 is the ability to save your company settings for different tube sizes and end conditions. So you can see here we have a save setting already in there. So just like with holes, we can save settings and use them over again. And we also have that option within our end conditions. We can save our settings in here as well. So these new capabilities will greatly accelerate our design processes. So we can close out of this. Another area that I want to focus on is the turbo. It's on the top of our motor, so we'll change our display configuration. So to locate the turbo in our Pathfinder, we can simply select it and it'll highlight it, and then we can open that assembly up. Once in the subassembly, we're going to take a look at some of the new rendering capabilities that are built right into Solid Edge. So a lot of time as a designer, you need tools to create photorealistic renderings. KeyShot, which is now built into Solid Edge, it provides this by automatically reading the Solid Edge colors and materials, but it also provides its own libraries that we're going to use here and add materials to our model. To do this, we can just simply drag and drop them onto our design. So we'll drag some different colors onto our model here. You can also drag backgrounds and backplates to help create the rendering that you're looking for. So let that sit for a second. You can see our photorealistic rendering. So it's pretty cool, pretty fun to use. Let's go ahead and go back to our design, and we'll take a look at another area within this turbo assembly. So if you first notice, I can modify the design right from within the assembly, as synchronous technology provides this freedom. We can rotate the wastegate port, and notice what happens with the wastegate hose. Depending on how we rotate, the tube will either get longer or shorter. So maybe we don't want that, and new in ST7 we have the ability to design hose type components that have a specific length now. So our fixed length curve, it helps speeds up the placement of hose and cable type components that might be purchased in stock lengths, for example. So we'll choose a direction that we want to lock this value in, and then key in a value and finish our curve here again. So once the length is locked, like we just did, we can also select to how we want the curve to respond during an edit, and then finally we can go back in and change the location of the port one more time and see how the fixed length curve responds as we rotate the wastegate. If you notice, you can see the hose now maintains the length that we just set. So we can go ahead and close out of our turbo assembly and get back to our top level motor assembly. So once at our top level, we can continue our design. We're going to shift our focus to the bottom side of the motor, where we'll create a frame structure for our motor to sit on during testing. If you'll notice, I have 3 separate solids created to use for frame creation. And to view this better, we're just going to turn the motor off during the process. So frame creation in ST7 has been greatly enhanced to give you more control of the frames being created before they're generated. As we begin to create a frame, notice our frame options interface gives you the option to select a frame orientation. This eliminates the need to continually edit the frames to get the orientation you're looking for. So we go ahead and select body and select one of our bodies here. It'll start to create our frames. As we continue to build the framework, it becomes obvious that using solids for frame creation makes the job really simple. Once a frame is created, we still have the added options to adjust or eliminate frame pieces that aren't needed. So we can come in here and select one of our lines that we don't need that frame component anymore and get rid of it. So also during our creation, we can switch between single, chain, face, and body. So it's a lot easier to develop a custom frame you may need for the design at hand. An advantage with Solid Edge frame design is its capability to modify on the fly during creation. So if we create a frame that might need to be tweaked, it's easy to do. Here we can add a couple of support frames to help support the front half. In this case, we have a front and back frame for the motor to sit on, but we want to connect the 2 middle pieces of frame. Another advantage to ST7 frame creation is that Solid Edge will also recognize when other frames are already present along an edge, and it won't create extra pieces of frame that aren't needed. Once the frame is complete, we can then show the motor and see how it fits. If you'll notice in the front, we really need the frame to fit right up against our mount, so we can use synchronous to edit this. By selecting a face on that solid with assistance from the steering wheel, we can simply move that face up that the frame is dependent on, and the frame will then respond accordingly. So this is just another example of how easily we can adjust the frame position. And now you can see our finished frame assembly. So as we talked about in the slides, with limited update, limited save, ST7 gives us more control over the extent to which an assembly is recomputed during open and save. This option speeds response times when working with large assemblies. We can also check for out-of-date components within an assembly and update and save them using the component tracker command as we are here. You'll notice one of our components in our assembly was modified out of context. So in this case, we can highlight to locate it, and then if we choose, we can update the assembly to make sure everything is up to date. And you'll notice our filter will move over, and now everything is up to date in our component tracker. So Solid Edge provides the tools to help us complete our design projects faster and easier by removing any of those bottlenecks. So along with the enhanced interface to improve your user experience and rendering capabilities right in, Solid Edge helps us get the job done right the first time. So let's go ahead and switch over to drafting now and take a look at some of the enhancements that were added in the draft environment. We recognize that drawings are a key deliverable for most of our engineers. Our goals have kind of always focused on reducing drawing production time. Solid Edge ST7 continues this by introducing new functionality to minimize time to market. So ST7 extended the dynamic display of drawing views to all view types, including section, detail, auxiliary, and principal views. So we can dynamically create and position several of our standard views here of our accessory drive cover. And Solid Edge also has the capability of shading any view, and now this also can be done and displayed before placing the view, as you see here in our ISO view. We'll just go ahead and move this up out of the way. Dimensions that are associated with our 3D models, they can be retrieved for our orthogonal views, and then we can automatically arrange those with the arrange dimensions command as well. So that just produces kind of a cleaner layout here, makes everything look better. And we can adjust those views and scoot them over some. The next thing we're going to do is create a detail view. While we do this, you'll notice that Solid Edge, it dynamically previews what's in the detail. So you can see our dynamic preview there before I place it. If we then move the detail circle, the new view updates in real time. So that's pretty cool. Also in ST7, symbols, callouts, and GD and T have all been enhanced to allow associativity between them. So in this example, I'm going to place a datum on the top surface of the drive cover with a callout letter A. And then next we're going to define our feature control frame and use that datum as reference text, which I'll pull up here. So this will ensure tolerance of a parallel condition, the bottom surface to the top. So we're entering some other values here. We want to make sure it's parallel. Add a value, hit OK, and then we'll place the datum frame. So maybe we realize that the datum designation needs to change. Well, it'll automatically update the control frame accordingly then. So if we change that to B, you can notice down there it's changed as well. Let's go ahead and switch over to another sheet then and take a look at some other enhancements. In ST7, supplemental parts list now impart more visual information to help us kind of interrogate our designs. Here we can select specific items in the parts list, and that'll highlight the corresponding components then on our drawing view, which is pretty cool, and this is a huge benefit with large assemblies. We can now also turn on thumbnail images of our individual components, and dragging our cursor over the table generates the preview then of our parts or subassemblies, which is pretty cool. In many cases, it's necessary to include views of subassemblies or parts within the same drawing as the master assembly. So in ST7 it makes this quick and easy. We can pull the pedal assembly out of the master using the drawing view wizard to place a view then of our pedal. So we'll go ahead and place that, and let's just scoot it over and go ahead and shade that in as well. Another thing we may need to do is to detail the cast pedal mount part to aid our machinists on the floor in manufacturing of the part. So on our same sheet or any other sheet, we can add several standard views of this pedal mount and place them all on the same sheet as the master. This method is also ideal for frame and pipe assemblies, as unique cut ends of pipes or frames can be depicted on the same sheet as our larger assembly here. So we can choose one of our frame components and place views of that, making it easier to see. Next I want to take a look at coordinate dimensioning. Coordinate dimensioning, as we used to do it here, we'd come in, select our 0 axis, and select the different components that we want to coordinate dimension to. This takes time, a lot of clicks, so they've added the automatic coordinate dimension. It's a lot faster and easier with our automatic coordinate dimension placement. We just pretty much select what we want to dimension, and Solid Edge will align, group, and jog the dimensions for us. All we have to do is select the drawing view and the origin element, and the corresponding coordinates are placed. The next thing we want to do is then add some coordinate dimensions to the detail view associated back to our master view. So all we have to do is select any dimension in the master view, then pretty much select what is needed in the detail view. To do this, I'm just going to hold down the Alt key and select the lines of our detail view, and that'll get rid of the leader lines and make it look nice and pretty there. So with ST7, they continue to listen to our customer needs, and we've delivered a faster and even more efficient suite of drafting tools, which allows us to focus more on documenting our designs and less on manipulating the drawing. So that's all I had for you today. I appreciate your time. If you have any questions for me or any topics for future LunchByte topics, please email me. Once again, I appreciate your time. Thanks and have a great day.